BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? So Jaguars fans, Colts fans, and just fans of football in general, we finally have NFL regular season football this week. The Detroit Lions will take on the Kansas City Chiefs Thursday evening to kick off the 2023 season. And obviously us Jags and Colts fans in here, we kick off our season this Sunday afternoon at Lucas Oil Stadium. Man, regardless if you're a Jags fan or a Colts fan, I think we can all agree the offseason every single year just drags, and we're so excited to finally have some football back, man. Just the adrenaline and all the nuances that come with every new football season, whether your team's gonna be good, whether they're gonna be bad, or maybe even a mediocre team. Bro, we can all just agree, man, thank God football is finally back, and it's just a great feeling to have. We had college football this weekend, now we got the NFL football. Man, I'm excited because I'm tired of watching preseason. I'm tired of speculating about what's going to happen this season. And I haven't done a preview video since January of this year when the Jags ultimately lost in the divisional round of the playoffs to the Chiefs. My heart's still broken. Still very heartfelt about that. But like I kind of do for every single preview video in general, I always talk about the opponent first, and that's going to come with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to talk about them on both sides of the ball. I'll then transition into talking about the Jaguars on both sides of the ball. And at the very end of the video, of course, I'll give my final takeaways and my actual score prediction for the game. But before I really get into talking about the Indianapolis Colts, there's one big announcement I have to say. Jaguar fans, mark your calendar. This upcoming September 8th, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, I will be dropping a huge cinematic, short movie film. It's gonna be about 25 to 30 minutes long, so be prepared. And it's a type of video that I've never done before. It takes you through all the emotions and all the ebbs and flows of the Jaguars from last season, what the Jaguars put together, and how this is a brand new era of Jaguars football, man. I've put my blood, sweat, and tears and emotions into this. Like I said, this is a type of video I have never done before. I know you guys are gonna absolutely love this, so make sure you guys mark your calendars, and I need you guys to please blow this video up. And I'm not referring to this preview video, that video on Friday evening, because I don't ask you guys for a lot, and I love y'all from the bottom of my heart, but my gosh, y'all are gonna love this video, man. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that, and I'll also be posting a lot on Twitter. Now, let's actually get into the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you guys for listening to me while I ramble. I want to preface my comments when I talk about the Indianapolis Colts by saying the first thing about the number 4 overall pick in this year's draft in Anthony Richardson. Yes, I'm a diehard Gators fan, and I can try to be as objective as possible. Anthony Richardson, despite being 21 years of age, being a very inexperienced quarterback, as he only started, I believe, 12 games last year at the University of Florida, easily the most athletic and freak of nature, right? We've seen at the quarterback position test at the combine. Anthony Richardson is a special talent and a specimen. I think he's gonna be a phenomenal NFL quarterback one day. Obviously, it's not gonna happen immediately because he needs to continue to learn and grow in the game. Let me say this right here, right now. Anthony Richardson will be special, and I'm gonna be rooting for this guy, right? I know he's gonna be in a divisional rival, and of course, when he plays Jacksonville, of course I don't want him to be good. But this is a good, humble young brother. I'm telling you right here, right now, this guy's not boastful, he's not cocky, he's not arrogant, he's not all of those analogies. Anthony Richardson is a genuinely good dude, and I'm just putting it right here on record, man. I'm gonna be rooting for this guy. I think with him and Shane Steichen, now the new head coach for the Indianapolis Colts coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles, seeing the success that he had developing Jalen Hurts and what they were able to do last season, getting to the Super Bowl, he can implement a very similar type of similar style of offense that's predicated around Anthony Richardson's talents. And I'm just telling you right here, right now, outside of playing Jacksonville twice a year for the foreseeable future, I'm gonna be rooting for Anthony Richardson week in, week out, on and off the field. Terrific young kid, an amazing and incredible football player. Anthony Richardson's a special talent. Now, kind of getting more into the Indianapolis Colts, I already mentioned Shane Steichen coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, former Jaguars head coach Gus Bradley still their defensive coordinator, and we all know the turmoil that's been going on these last couple of weeks with running back Jonathan Taylor, who in his 2 seasons in the NFL, really excluding last season, this has been a top 2 back in the game of football, right? He's been in that conversation with a Derrick Henry, with a Nick Chubb, with a Joshua Jacobs. Jonathan Taylor is an electric dynamic type of playmaker. This guy opens up the field for the Colts offense, and obviously he scares the living hell out of any defense he's going to play. Jonathan Taylor is a legitimate, dynamic running back, and the Colts need to pay him, right? I know that Jim Irsay and the rest of the Colts front office has not reached that agreement, and we understand that Jonathan Taylor's also on the physically unable to perform list, which means he's going to be out the first 4 weeks. That's going to be a huge hit for Anthony Richardson, a young quarterback, and this offense as a whole. I hope for the Colts fans' sake, because I don't really have any animosity towards y'all, that you guys are able to get that situation figured out. Maybe you guys can amend some things, but Jim Irsay just looks like this guy's just completely over his head. This guy's said the wrong things time in and time out. This hopefully can get resolved for y'all's sake, but I don't know if Jonathan Taylor ever plays another snap for the Indianapolis Colts. When you look at the Colts injury report as a whole, Zach Moss is questionable to play. Shaquille Leonard is going to be questionable to play. So that's going to be 3 key guys, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Moss, and Shaquille Leonard, who are probably not going to play in this game. And obviously Jonathan Taylor won't be able to play. You still got other solid offensive skill position players that are put in place around Anthony Richardson. When you talk about guys like Alec Pierce, who I like a lot going into his sophomore season. Michael Pittman Jr. is obviously one of the better young wide receivers in the game of football. Joshua Downs is actually someone who I wanted the Jaguars to take in the 2nd or 3rd round coming out of UNC. He's a prospect I really like a lot, and I'm happy for the Colts fans that they were able to get him. I think him and Anthony Richardson can really try to build something special for the years moving forward. And this offensive line is still intact for the most part, right? You talk about guys like Ryan Kelly, Quentin Nelson, and Braden Smith. This is a very solidified offensive line. And then when you flip it to the defensive side of the ball, like I said, Shaquille Leonard may not play in this game. I believe he's still in concussion protocol. You've still got other decent players on this Colts front 7 and then just in this Colts team in general. When you look at their defense, Kwity Paye, Kenny Moore, there's a lot of good players that you like on that team. And obviously DeForest Buckner as well too in that front 7. There's some solid players right there, but I don't know if this Indianapolis Colts defense is going to be able to keep up with a highly prolific Jaguars offense that they're going to be putting out there onto the field. And that's going to kind of transition me into talking about the Jaguars offense, right? We know the Jaguars last season finished number 1 in the AFC South. They won 5 straight games to win the division. They obviously won in the wild card round. They ultimately lost in the divisional round. Now this is a team with expectations. Year 2 under Doug Peterson, year 2 under Press Taylor and Mike Caldwell, and now year 2 of Trevor Lawrence underneath these coordinators. There are major expectations in Jacksonville and across the NFL community for the Jaguars. They're the betting odds-on favorites to win the AFC South, and Trevor Lawrence is going to find himself in that MVP conversation this upcoming season. And it's not just about quarterback Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville's Jesus, the prince that was promised, whatever nickname you have for him. He has legitimate weapons all around him. He's got a plethora of guys that can go ahead and just take over on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at skill position guys like Calvin Ridley, who the Jaguars acquired last year at the deadline, and he's going to be a huge help for the Jaguars because the last time we saw Calvin Ridley play a full season in 2020, I'm telling you, this guy was 2nd team All-Pro. He's one of the most dynamic playmakers and best route runners in the game of football. 90 receptions, 1,374 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Calvin Ridley is that guy. And don't just take my word for it. Take Davante Adams' word for it. Davante Adams this offseason called Calvin Ridley a top 5 wide receiver in the game of football. I don't think there's going to be much rust there. I saw Calvin Ridley with my own 2 eyes at training camp. This guy's going to be an immensely talented wide receiver who's going to help open up this offense, stretch it vertically down the field, and be able to make those 50-50 balls, 80-20 balls. Calvin Ridley is going to be a huge receiver in this core for the Jaguars. But outside of just Ridley, you've got guys like Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and Zay Jones, who all in their first year last year in Jacksonville all put up career highs across the board. The Jaguars also added Brenton Strange and Tank Bigsby in the draft, tight end from Penn State and running back from Auburn. So you look at the Jaguars backfield with Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Dearness Johnston, and JaMychal Hasty. That is probably the deepest backfield in the Jaguars, in the entire NFL. The Jaguars have an immense amount of weapons around Trevor Lawrence. They've got a solidified offensive line. They took Anton Harrison with their first overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. And Anton Harrison's going to really help bolster that offensive line with now Jawan Taylor leaving to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. And when you look at the Jaguars defense, when you look at them on paper, to a casual NFL fan or to the average NFL fan, you'd be like, this is a solid defense with, some intriguing pieces, but let's actually see how they perform, because you wouldn't think that their defense is going to stack up with maybe Vic Fangio's defense down in Miami, or maybe Cleveland's defense, and rightfully so. But Trayvon Walker going into year 2, I expect him to have a huge, dominant Khalil Mack type of season, where we saw Khalil Mack really assert himself as one of the best edge rushers in the game of football in his second season in the league. You see Josh Allen going into a contract year. Expect Josh Allen to have the best season of his career this upcoming season. And the Jaguars defense as a whole last year, they obviously retained almost every single one of their starters. The only key guys that they really lost are DeJuan Smoot, who's still recovering back from his injury, and Arden Key, a man who helped build the city of Jacksonville, of course. I saw him doing some construction work on the Dames Point Bridge about this time last season. He's over with the Tennessee Titans now, and they're going to be absolute garbage this year. Getting back to the point of the defense, Mike Caldwell in his first season as the Jaguars defensive coordinator, they had 27 takeaways, 14 interceptions, 13 fumble recoveries. This defense was extremely opportunistic, and they came through when it mattered the most. Rayshon Jenkins, Jaguars safety, had absolutely 2 game-winning plays that really saved the Jaguars season in a lot of ways. When you look at that pick 6 in overtime versus the Dallas Cowboys, you look at that play and that hit sack he had on Joshua Dobbs in Week 18, and then Josh Allen took it to the house. In order to win the AFC South, this Jaguars defense is extremely talented. You've got one of the better young corners in the game of football in Tyson Campbell. The Jaguars front 7 is very solidified with guys like Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, Devin Lloyd, Foyesay Oluokun, Chad Muma. The list goes on. The Jaguars are going to have their opportunities, not just in Week 1, but just in this season, to go ahead and really make a good impact, especially with another year of chemistry and continuity under their belt with a lot of the guys that they've retained, as well as playing in year 2 under Mike Caldwell. Now, when we kind of get into the overall gist of my overall predictions about Week 1, the Jaguars are favored 3.5 points to win this game according to DraftKings Sports. Not sponsored, by the way. I forget the name of the website. Point is, the Jaguars are favored 3.5 points. Yes, I would take that, but I think a lot of Jags fans are getting ahead of themselves. This game, I do not believe is going to be a blowout. Now, I do think the Jaguars win this game by double digits. Let me make that clear, but it's not going to be as much of a runaway as a lot of Jags fans make it seem, right? Week 1 for any NFL team can be a wild card type of game where it's like, you don't really have a lot of tape on the guy. You don't really have a lot of tape and film on what they're going to be able to do and present. This is a team where no matter how talented you are, and the Jaguars are clearly the more talented team on paper, they could very easily lose this game, especially on the road. Now, like I said, I still have them winning by double digits, but don't be surprised if Anthony Richardson, who the Jaguars don't have much film on, excluding, a little bit of preseason film on, and Anthony Richardson did play very well in the preseason. Don't let the stats fool you. Go back and watch the tape. The Jaguars are going to have to look back at a lot of film from his days at UF, and rightfully so. Anthony Richardson, even with a depleted, offensive arsenal without having Jonathan Taylor, which is going to take a big hit to that offense, I think surprisingly so, the Colts are going to keep this relatively close, right? I'm going to say the Jaguars win this game probably 27-17. The Jaguars offense has a lot more potential to really go out there and, put up a lot of points in this contest, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as that. It's still Week 1. You still got a lot of, nuances within this offense, and adding Calvin Ridley is going to really help open up this offense. But that's just my overall thoughts and predictions when it comes to that too. Obviously, I'd like to blow the Colts out. Of course I won. Of course I would. But a win's a win. I'll go ahead and I'll take it. I think the Jaguars go out there Week 1 and they get a respectable W on the road. Start the year off at Lucas Oil Stadium 1-0. And I think Anthony Richardson quietly has himself a very solid NFL debut. He's still a raw prospect. He's going to have a lot of ups and downs throughout his rookie season, especially with the rookie head coach in Shane Steichen. But I got a lot of respect for the Indianapolis Colts as of right now. Maybe not Jim Irsay, but I got a lot of respect for their fan base, and I got a lot of respect for, really what the direction of this team is looking like it's doing moving forward. Hope they get that contract situation figured out with Jonathan Taylor. I hope that they can respect him and all the hard work that he's given to that organization. But Jags fans, Colts fans, please let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think about the Jaguars and the Colts Week 1 matchup? Let me know a bold take, and also give me a score prediction down below. Jags fans, save that date. Friday, September 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern, A New Era, a movie cinematic documentary. Make sure y'all save the date. But Jags fans and Colts fans, thank you guys again for sticking around throughout the whole video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me the channel out tremendously. If you guys are also new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys also go ahead and follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter or X, whatever the hell you guys are calling it now. Make sure y'all go ahead and follow me. But that's it for this video. Thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ. I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Duuuval. Peace.